The final update of the season is officially here, and it's absolutely insane. Act 3 is officially kicking off, and this time, we're answering the call to bring in some heavy hitters. Those heroes are none other than the Overwatch crew. The stakes for Act 3 have truly never been higher. Just as the Dark Voyager starts making his move to plunge everything into a total dumpster fire, we're seeing some new faces stepping out to save the day. If you aren't familiar with Overwatch, just think of them as the multiverse's original Seven. They're a group of elite protectors from a future Earth that already survived its own apocalypse, and now they're here to make sure the island doesn't suffer that same fate. To understand why these heroes are such a big deal, you have to look at where they came from. Imagine a world about 30 years from now where humanity had peaked. We created Omnics, these ultra-intelligent robots that were supposed to do everything for us, building cities, cooking meals, you name it. But, as it usually goes in every sci-fi movie ever, the AI got a little too big for its boots. In the middle of that total chaos, a strike team was formed called Overwatch. It was led by guys like Jack Morrison, who you might know as the Soldier 76, and Gabriel Reyes, the Reaper. They were the best snipers, engineers, and scientists. They ended the war, but the peace didn't last. Internal drama and secret Black Ops missions eventually made the public turn on them. The government banned them, and for years, these heroes were basically outlaws. Right now, to help us deal with the reality collapse, specific heroes have officially answered the recall. And we need them, because just like I suspected before, the elites from our universe took a massive L. They couldn't stop the Voyager, and he snatched the last 0-point fragment right out of their headquarters. Now he's got all 7 shards of the 0 point in his hands. He already merged 4 of them in the lab, and then just completely went ghost. Considering all the shards are already on the island, the fact that Voyager just vanished is super sketchy. Given what this guy is capable of, it's actually pretty terrifying. He didn't even teleport back to the OG where we expected him to go. He went somewhere else entirely. Drop your theories in the comments on where you think he's hiding. Most likely, Voyager will start activating the 0 point in the very next update. It looks like the Overwatch team is going to be our backup here, since they've already got experience stopping world-ending threats. Either way, Voyager is going to start assembling the 0 point next week, and the island is literally going to start cracking at the seams. Jonesy says that resurrecting the 0 point takes a crazy amount of energy, and he's naively hoping that Voyager just doesn't have a power big enough to pull it off. But I think we've all realized by now that the Cubehead is playing 4D chess and is several steps ahead of us. While we're sitting here talking about it, Voyager and his interdimensional harvester are already on the home stretch of his plan. I'm hyped to see how the Overwatch heroes fit into this storyline, especially since we know Tracer, D.Va, and Genji are headed straight for our island. Another interesting detail is that after the Cube guy stole the shard from the elite stronghold, a second rift opened up on the Golden Coast. This crack appeared right next to the new sawmill where the elite outpost is now located. It seems like Jules realized that if Voyager isn't stopped right now, the multiverse is toast. Remember how Jules secretly snuck onto the Cube guy's ship and made it to the Battle Royale island? Well, she took it a step further. It looks like after she hitched a ride behind Voyager's back on his own ship, she was the one who opened that rift to bring in the elite outpost. You've got to give the girl credit. Now she's teaming up with Jones, Hope, and the Seven to develop a secret weapon. She's likely building a device that can brick Voyager's ship, even if it's only for a minute. Back at the end of last season, when the Voyager activated only 3 shards, his harvester overloaded and went into literal safe mode. Our heroes are probably trying to pull a similar stunt, but it turns out Jones has an ace up his sleeve. He hinted to the team that he's planning to call in an old friend, though even he isn't sure if it's the right move. He says his friend is extremely dangerous and unpredictable, but despite all that, he trusts her. The Foundation is definitely not going to be a fan of this move, because as you probably guessed, Jonesy is talking about Dr. Sloan. All these breadcrumbs from the devs feel like a direct teaser for Sloan showing up at the final event. The Seven are going to be tilted for sure, but they don't really have a choice anymore. According to a new report, the scientist and the original visitor were dissolved in the chrome. In other words, they're gone. In a situation like this, any extra help is more than welcome. While everyone is staring at the sky, we've kind of forgotten about the Ice King, which is a huge mistake. because he is absolutely fuming that the Foundation escaped. The king is ready to do whatever it takes to drag the rock back. But the Foundation isn't playing around either. He's planning to end the king once and for all. The Foundation is so locked into this idea that he's actually starting to scare his own team instead of the enemy. Jones and Order are trying to keep him focused on the main goal, but it's like he has total tunnel vision. Writing off the king right now would be a massive blunder, especially since data miners just found something in the latest update that makes things way more interesting. It turns out that in the throne room, hidden behind a frozen skull, there's a secret room with an ice pillar right in the center, exactly like the one the Foundation was trapped in. Since this spot is so well hidden, there must be something incredibly important inside, either for gameplay or, more likely, for the lore. I think this time there might be another story character or something else locked away in that secret vault. Something that will finally pull back the curtain on Season 3. There are a ton of possibilities here. Doctor Doom, or even the Cube Queen. Let me know your best guesses in the comments. One thing is for sure, things on the island are accelerating fast, and prep for the final event starts any day now. The cube-headed guy is openly prowling through all the familiar realities hunting for 0-point shards. First, he suddenly crashed into Fortnite OG, where his Dark Harvester was scouting right at Loot Lake, staring straight into the center of the POI. Then he left the island, but the devs already dropped a spoiler that Voyager will be back to finish his business. What kind of business? I'll get to that a bit later. But what surprised me the most is that Voyager even made it to save the world, where he completely turned home base upside down. It was exactly because of his rift that some of the residents got spat out into Battle Royale. Now they're trying to find their way home, helping the Foundation fight the Ice King along the way. After terrorizing Save the World and finding absolutely nothing, Voyager bounced over to Reload, which is where he snatched the final 0-point shard. Meanwhile, the drama in the main storyline between our heroes is only picking up steam. After the Foundation returned to the island, his bromance with Jonesy noticeably cooled off. Jones says the leader of the Seven has been super angry lately and needs help. To be fair, the Foundation has always been a pretty rough dude with a short fuse, to put it mildly, but to distance himself this much from the bro he used to fist bump? It looks like something serious actually went down between these two that we aren't being told about yet. One thing is clear though, our blonde boy is pretty bummed out about it. I mean, not too long ago, he was basically obsessed with the Foundation. By the way, dropping a comment under this video will definitely help cheer him up. But getting back to the main conflict of this season and why it's happening. Aside from the fish stick and octopus beef, the most mysterious and interesting character arc of Season 2, in my opinion, is the story of Dasha and Jules. They used to be friends, and now they're ready to rip each other's throats out. So what happened between them? Many of you probably remember that after Midas was defeated and the device was destroyed, Jules started working for the Imagined Order, becoming one of their engineers. That's most likely where she met Dasha, who was an IO agent at the time. And it seems like they actually had a pretty solid, warm friendship. However, apparently because Jules ended up leaving the Order, Dasha held a major grudge and now really wants to play some games with her old friend. Granted, these games don't seem very safe and are going to cost Jules a pretty penny. After all, you need some high-tier gear to protect yourself from a crazy ex-friend. That's exactly why Jules is crafting such overpowered weapons for us.
Jules is working on some tech that might help us turn the tide.
Long story short, Jules has everything under control. While we're out here playtesting her new tech, the frost and cold are completely swallowing up the always sunny Golden Coast. Honestly, the appearance of the Ice King took a lot of people by surprise, but the most curious loopers started asking, is this the exact same Ice King from Chapter 1? I hope I don't shatter anyone's reality here, but this Ice Boy is a totally different version of the King. See, in the Zero War comic arc, the Ice King wasn't just some random guy. He was a legitimate protector of the multiverse. Alongside certain knights, he traveled through dimensions, tracking down dangerous creatures and artifacts and sealing them away in his castle so nobody could use them for selfish gains. Obviously, he was working for the greater good. The current king, on the other hand, is some kind of possessed insane ruler who genuinely believes he's the strongest being in the entire multiverse. Plus, we know from the comics that the Lord of Ice is dead, or at the very least, buried forever under the remains of the Ice Moon. So where did this possessed doppelganger come from? It's actually pretty simple. This guy, just like the new visitor, comes straight out of an alternate reality in Fortnite OG. Because one of this king's styles is identical to the one from the OG Season 7 live event. So it turns out that Voyager pulled this Ice Boy from the past into the present, and is now using him for his own agenda. What exactly is that agenda? Don't touch that dial, and you'll find out. A lot of people, if not everyone, have no idea who the Elites are. This is a new organization that's going to play a massive role in the storyline of this entire chapter, and really the whole future of Fortnite lore.
What's up with those elites?
We seem to be on the same side. Not sure if much else matters.
Uh-huh. And we're sure we want to throw in with them? Because they're very violence forward.
We first heard about them back in Chapter 6 when Zadie arrived in Oninoshima looking for mercenaries for some VIP mission. And finally, they recently revealed the team roster to us and even hinted at a very deep story connection. The Elites are run by Zadie, a former Imagined Order officer who handled security. After the IO collapsed, she scoured hundreds of realities looking for the best of the best to build her squad. Daigo, by the way, joined the team not just because of his raw skills, but also to redeem himself for the bad stuff he did in Oninoshima. And when the Elites first showed up on the Chapter 7 island, they were huddled up in a small workshop near Sus Studio. Now they have a full-blown base in a separate dimension, proudly named the Elite Stronghold. And after Voyager stole that last 0-point shard from there, a chunk of their base ended up crashing right onto the main island, onto our map. On top of that, the Elites have an arena, a training ground where Zadie turns rookies into absolute warriors. But here's the real kicker. The Elites are closely tied to the Oathbound, who we learned about back in Chapter 4. And honestly, that connection to the Oathbound runs a lot deeper. We're going to circle back to the Elites a few times today, so stay glued to your screen. Because to stand a chance against who we're going to talk about next, we need heroes on our side. And that leads us right to the current status of the Seven. With the launch of Season 2, we got an update on the status of almost all the original members of the Seven. Amy, who was maintaining the databases, managed to find the key to the archives and discovered something incredibly sketchy. The Imagined is dead, and the Origin and the original Visitor were consumed by the Chrome, meaning they are essentially dead too. And that means the scientist's fate is probably the exact same. So out of the original Seven, we're only left with the Order, the Foundation, and the Paradigm, whose status is honestly up in the air too. All of this heavily hints that throughout Chapter 7, we'll be assembling a brand new squad of the Seven to take the fight to the last reality. But hey, if we got a visitor from an alternate reality, maybe the rest will roll up too. Besides that, per usual, we can spot the most juicy intel on the loading screens. Just like always, we're pulling story secrets and teasers for the next season straight from them. It's the exact same situation right now. On one of the Battle Pass screens, you can catch Jules sneaking onto Dark Voyager's ship. By the looks of it, while the Cubehead guy stopped in the Elite Dimension to scout or whatever, Jules took advantage of the situation, stowed away on the ship, and that's exactly how she made it onto the Battle Royale island. Which begs the question, how many other stowaways could have slipped onto our island thanks to Voyager's little road trips? According to the latest leaks and news, there's a ton of fake info floating around. There are theories that by reuniting the 0 point, the Voyager might trigger an invasion of the island by the last reality. Honestly, this should definitely happen this chapter, since they've been building up to it. But why didn't the last reality crash the party earlier if they wanted to so badly? I mean, seriously, the Voyager is just casually breaking into any reality he wants, while a whole army is just chilling, waiting for a specific moment? Waiting for what? I'm still sticking to my guns here. With the complete reunification of the 0 point, something massive is going to go down. Either the island gets a complete overhaul, or we get an invasion way more terrifying than the last reality and its heralds. Going back to the teasers from Epic and the fact that they're dropping so many Marvel hints, it is basically 100% confirmed that Spider-Man from the new movie dropping in July is absolutely coming to the game. And considering how tight Epic and Disney are right now, I highly doubt he's just going to be an item shop drop. He'll most likely play some kind of role in the storyline. And as we all know, on a cosmic scale, some of Spider-Man's biggest enemies are the symbiotes. But for now, that's just a theory. So let's get back to the hard facts, and look at what exactly could trigger the apocalypse in Season 3. After the Voyager dipped from the OG island, it's safe to say he never found the shard he was looking for over there. But we already know that OG has its own 0-point dimension, which we got teleported to during the Season 5 mini-event. If my theory holds up, there could literally be 2 0 points existing in Fortnite right now. One in the present day, on the Golden Coast, which the Dark Voyager is trying to patch up using the shards. The other is tucked away in the OG vault. And the kicker? Having them this close to each other could trigger anomalies and paradoxes way gnarlier than anything we saw before. But I'll dive deeper into that on later, so if you're hooked, stick around. One of those anomalies is the Elite's stronghold. It looks like Zadie isn't just recruiting the biggest badasses from across the multiverse, she's also a massive hoarder. Inside the Elite's stronghold, you can spot an imagined order drill, and even cube ore. Add a 0-point shard to that laundry list, and suddenly the Dark Voyager is making a beeline straight there to snatch it. Honestly, it looks like this place used to be an old Imagine Order base. At first glance, it just looks like a total lore Easter eggs. But the Elites are actually putting all this junk to work. An excavation drill, cube ore to craft new weapons. I have a gut feeling Zadie knows exactly what she's doing. This collection is the key to something way bigger.